My name is Fadi, Fabulous Fadi for some. A little bubble, and we call it like our church. And I wanted to disappear, to completely disappear from the face of earth. It's all about the musical experience. My father kidnapped me. My brother was stabbed. To understand what's going in my head and to break that cycle of trauma. The most important part, the music itself, is the core that glues us, but for me, it's the community. So this is the real medication.
Before we get started, we're gonna take 3 deep breaths in.
Yeah.
And we're gonna settle. So big in, deep breath. Big exhale. Breath in. Exhale. Last one, we'll hold for 5 seconds at the top. Big breath in. Hold. Exhale. Feels
good, yeah. It's like a little rush of calmness.
It feels good. It's always nice to bring the energy in and settle.
I do it sometimes before going to bed.
Oh my God, I have to. I'll get in bed. Sometimes in the middle of the day, I have to go just lay down and meditate because it's like my nervous system's just shot.
Yeah.
And the deep breathing always helps. And I always think it's good to just bring everyone into the same energy, ground, and it may be woo-woo for some people. Yeah. But you know what? It works for me. It calms my nervous system, and
it's pretty instant. 5 seconds or 1 minute, and you feel instantly better.
Yeah, it helps. Breathing helps a lot, and not to say that it's definitely been a morning. So without further ado, I want to introduce you. So please, Fadi. Tell us your name. Tell us where we are.
Yeah, so my name is Fadi. I go by Fabulous Fadi for some. So I'm from Montreal. We are now in your Airbnb. So it's a big day today. We're going to go see Hernan tonight. So I've been going out, I guess, in the electronic scene for 10 years. So about 10 years. And I've been really involved in the community in a way of writing my emotions and reviews that slowly became bigger and bigger, and now I guess I'm known for that. And now recently I started a page on Instagram, and I've been sharing more things about my mental health and struggles I've been through, and I think it's helping me a lot and a lot of people too. So yeah, that's about me, and just someone that's gonna be smiling and colorful on the dance floor. So I'm easy to spot, usually.
Front left?
Front left. It used to be front right. We have a group that's called front right, actually. But nowadays it's front left, where it's more comfortable. Yeah.
Why is it more comfortable?
I guess less people, and we just conquer the space, and you have a bubble of your friends circling you, and you have more space to dance.
So you guys took it over.
Exactly.
Very cool. Well, I wanna open. Thank you for giving us insight as to who you are, what you're doing, and I wanna.
Thanks to you.
It's kind of twofold. We're here for Hernan Catano's all night long. So excited. Oh my God, prepped.
I'm so excited that you're here for there, because obviously we
got connected. So let's tell people how we got connected. All right. So initially, Will and I are coming to see John Digweed here at Stereo back in May.
Yeah.
Right? I had never been to Stereo before.
Yeah.
Will came with Danny for the first time for his marathon. And he was like, yo, we have to go. So I'm like, no problem. We're making it happen. We come, we sync up with you and Luis, and you immediately welcome us with open arms, just like family. So nice. It's so inviting. And we go to Stereo to see John Digweed.
And it was your first Stereo. And
First Stereo.
I was, as I told you a lot of time this day, I was feeding through, because I've been to Stereo I say that a lot now, 10 years. So
do they have a plaque with your name on it? Is there like a memorial for Fadi?
I've been told once, like, you look like the mayor of Stereo because everyone comes to greet you. Like my friend was telling me, everyone comes to greet you and they know you.
Shaking hands and kissing
exactly.
babies.
But the thing is, I still feel the magic, but not as much as my first stereo. So the first stereo is always like magical and unique. So when I live it through someone like you and Will, it was his second stereo, but first marathon from open to close. So when you live it with someone, like I could see in your eyes, like the magic.
Oh my God, I was like, they say the idea of the kid in the candy store, it was way more than that. It was like, I was having a religious experience on the dance floor.
I kept saying to Luis and Will, like, where's Ryan? Because I needed like your energy. I needed to see like your face like at certain time of
just
the...
in awe. I was like, there were so many moments where I was just like holding my head, just like with the sound and just the experience I was having. I was like, is this real? Oh, so I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as I did.
So that was our first encounter, and I'm glad you're here tonight because Digweed is my number. I don't like to like rate DJs.
We're not gonna throw numbers out there.
He's like in my top DJs, and Ernan is up there too. So you're gonna be there for two of my top nights.
It's amazing. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So one of the main things with Medtronica is like this aspect of looking into electronic music related to mental health, related to like how it improves our lives and how it impacts us. And stereo, from my one experience, it's so unique, and it plays, for me personally, it plays like a really cool and important role in the electronic music community because you don't have a lot of outside like frou-frou that comes in. And I say that with like, you don't have a lot of distractions.
Yeah, it's very curated.
Very curated. It's very intentional. So I want to dive into a couple of things related to Medtronica down the road. But one of my main questions is, what makes stereo so special? Like, why do people love this place?
I guess stereo, if I had like to describe it to someone, it's an after hours. So first of all, for Montreal, it's very... different of most clubs, so the hours are very lengthy. And for me, what is so special and what you have trouble like comparing to other venues in the world, everything is made to enhance the musical experience of the participant. Everything from like the bouncer to every details. So when you look at it, you obviously have one of the best, I will say the best sound system in the world that was designed by Angel Morales, and that's been changed through the years, but it's still the best. So the level of quality that you have in this sound system is just up the roof, and we see like every DJ that comes, they like acknowledge that the sound is up there. But then there's more. There's things that you learn and that you're like, whoa, that's really crazy. The whole floor is made of a wood that will absorb the shocks of when you're dancing. So, and I see the difference. If I dance 5-6 hours in an outdoor venue, like on the concrete, I feel like very tired, like in the legs, sore. Stereo, like the floor will absorb the shocks and it makes you like less tired, less sore, even if you dance 12 hours. So it's made for you to have a good experience in that way.
Wow.
You don't have any alcohol, so that's major. No alcohol, no VIP, and to be honest, in all the years I've been, I've never seen any fights, any aggressivity, any like the only time that people like have issues, it's not related to aggressivity. So the vibe is really like clean. People are there like with a good vibe, a good smile. They even did recently, like behind the speakers, there's like a corridor, so you can pass. So if you need to go to the bathroom, you don't have to cross like everyone on the dance floor. So it's really made for that. So you just like skip everyone, and you don't have to like break the bubble of someone on the dance floor. And when you think of that, that's spaces that they take off of the dance floor. So it's like tickets that they could sell more to make more money if they push it all the way back. but it's not about the money. So it's all about the musical experience, and the staff is just so caring. Like they will come to help you. Once in my life, I didn't have the coat check money because I don't know what happened. I forgot it. And Diane was like, like I'm gonna go like take care of it. She went all the way like in the back. She found like $4 for me. And I was
so
like,
nice.
thank God, because I would have to go to the bank. And
Oh my God.
it saved like at this time I felt like I needed it. They take care of you. So
Wow.
it's like a little bubble, and we call it like our church, that's just made to focus the musical experience. And the last thing, most important, the DJs, they don't have a ending time, like specific ending time. So it's always a surprise. They could go from 3 to 4 hours minimum, I would say, to playing like some DJs will play 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours.
Hernan and Guy J, right?
Exactly. So I think that's one of the aspects that makes it so mythical. Like the DJ, they have this freedom, like they can play whatever they want, and if they feel like extending, they can. And that's a point that comes up a lot, I think, when they review stereo as DJs. So yeah, it's all about the musical experience.
Yeah, it's what you're saying. Like they built a corridor behind the speakers, right, to protect the integrity of the sound, like keeping sound at the forefront and the experience at the forefront, and the creativity. They're protecting that for the artists, because we now live in a world. I mean, we've kind of always lived in this world, but like we see a lot of 1 hour, 2 hour sets, which, you know, I'm not a world traveling DJ, but like I know some of the songs are 7 to 8 minutes long. So like how many of those songs can you play, or tracks can you play in 2 hours? Not many, especially if you're mixing. Yeah. So I see stereo as a place that is protecting and is the last guard of like this long journey of
the art of DJing.
Exactly. They're protecting the art of DJing. And I think that's so important in a day where we live in 1-2 hour sets. So the other part that I see at stereo that I want to ask you about is the community. I come from the fitness world. I come from, like, I have a background in athletics and team sports. And as soon as I stepped foot in Montreal and had somewhat of a connection to stereo through Will, we were immediately like
felt like family.
Felt like it was so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
and
immediately you reached out to us and we connected, and now we're sitting here. It felt so communal. I want to ask you, like, one, what makes that such, like, what makes the community at stereo so special?
I guess the community is very, very important for me with stereo. Like, it's funny because when I think of it, pretty much all my friends, my close friends right now, we met through stereo, like in the early years, like in 2013, 14. And we kind of like laugh about it because when someone asks, like when an outside person asks us, where did we meet? Like we joke, at stereo, but we don't know which year and like which event. It was like at stereo. I know that I met you guys at stereo, but I can't pin the exact event because it was just like meeting so many people. And what makes it special is the community. For me, it was such like people that are open, tolerant, and the community is like so wide. Like you have people from all the spectrum of the society. Like on the dance floor, you have like doctors, like all the professions. You have people that have certain like issues in their life. So you have a melting pot of everything, and everyone is like super like comfortable with themselves, and like they go there to have a good time. And the community is very tight. And I learned like in the recent years that they like support each other. Like if there's something that happened, like if you reached out to them, even to stereo, like people are tight. Like they know, like they see you every time on the dance floor. So if something's happened, you know, you have like people behind you. And for me, like during the years, having this like support system, I guess it allowed me gradually to open myself slowly. And yeah, this community right now, when I look to my current friends, it's all people that I met through stereos like 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's I guess since we have the same taste of music, the friendship lasted for a lot. For sure, there's some people that you lose contact, like everything. But a lot of them we kept, like we have the same struggles, we have the same taste in music, so we still see each other. And it's pretty amazing.
The music keeps everybody close.
Exactly. Yeah, so you're right. So sometimes we get like 3-4 months not seeing each other, and then there's Ernan coming, or there's a big event, so everyone comes out, and it's an occasion to see each other, and then we do a supper, and it just like clicks like that.
We're doing a supper tonight. It's going to be, so one, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And I think that's, to your point, something really important as we have come out of, COVID, and as we are talking more about like what people are looking for or missing in their lives. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of human connection since I work from home, which can be hard, but, like not having as much human contact as we did before. Mm-hmm. And as we're coming out of that, for me, myself, I noticed that not having that consistent community is something that is lacking in my life, was lacking in my life, and now is something that I feel I'm finding more of the places I go. And I think that is such a treasure that stereo has.
Yeah.
And it's a very important part of not just like the sound system, but the overall like embodiment of what stereo is.
And you're right, it's the community that's very stable. Like when I used to go out to stereo, I guess I was a little bit more insecure. I needed to know who was going, like if I have friends going, because I didn't want to be by myself. But through the years, like you just learn that the crowd is very stable, and like you'll see the same people again and again. So now I don't even ask people. Like I know I'm gonna see like the regular, and I ask maybe 1 or 2 friends. But sometimes I don't ask anyone, and I just go, and most of the people I know. So you just know if you go to stereo, you're gonna feel like welcomed and see your friends, and you don't have to like organize a whole thing. It just happened organically.
I can resonate with that, and what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a safe place.
Totally, yeah.
And I think for myself, having safety in the places that I go to, and safety doesn't mean like I'm in imminent danger for my life. I think for me, it's when I go to places, am I going to be judged? Mm-hmm. Am I going to be like, am I going to feel welcome? Am I going to feel like I can let my guard down? Do I have to like act a certain way? And it's like at places like stereo or, some clubs in electronic music, I feel like I'm just like the most comfortable going to those places because there's this overarching feeling and vibe of like, come as you are.
Yeah, exactly. You can be yourself. Music is the answer.
That's right.
So you can, like, we can talk about it more, but like you can wear all black, you can wear glitters, you can do whatever you want. You can wear no shirts. Come
as you are.
Exactly. It's a safe space, and I really agree with what you said. It doesn't mean to not feel danger. It's just meaning feeling comfortable with yourself, and that's something that stereo like helped me a lot throughout the years. Gradually feeling more comfortable and dropping some layers of insecurity throughout the years.
And that's a good segue, because I want to ask you, like, how has stereo impacted your life over the last 10 years? That's to be a part of something for 10 years. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Mm-hmm.
Stereo had a lot of impact in my life. So the biggest one, we talked about it, is the community. So it's still, the relationship with stereo changed throughout the years. So I used to go every weekend, like 2 times a weekend.
You were getting after it.
Religiously. But that was a learning period. So I'm glad I did it, because I saw like all the DJs. I learned what I liked. I learned what I didn't like in terms of music. Now, like, I know what I like I said, so I try to choose my events. But stereo, it's still very important to me. And the community is still part of me every day. So even if I don't go to stereo for 3 months, I still hang out with the same crew, the same vibe. I talk to people that went to events. I'm interested. Even if I don't go to an event, I will ask question. I often call my friends. How is it? How is it?
Gotta get the update.
Exactly.
Gotta get the report.
Yeah. And I guess a big impact that stereo had in my life was I felt so many emotions that I started writing down like my feelings and like how I felt about a certain night. And it started very casual, like a small post on Facebook in this group I was talking about, Front Right. Shout out to Front Right. So yeah, it started very casual, a small post, and eventually like people would like it, and I would get more inspired. The post got longer, and a lot of people are gonna laugh longer and longer. And eventually, most of my posts were about stereo because there's so much content you can like write about in a like 14 hours night compared to like going to a regular club for 2 hours. The review is going to be much longer and much more like detailed.
6 tracks.
Exactly. So yeah, there's not much to say. So a lot of my reviews were about stereo, and recently, about a year ago, it's funny because it's funny when I think about it. I was having dinner with Hernan, and I was telling him about my idea of, it was after Picnic in 2022, I think, just after COVID. And I was telling him about my project to do a blog, and like I was hesitant, and he really pushed me. He believed in that. He was like, do it, and I'm going to support you. I'm going to like share your reviews. And I felt like, I think the week or 2 weeks after, I started my blog and this Instagram page. And with the blog, the big advantage is that I can do an article that's not a post on social media. So it can be shared and it can be read after. And I think my first review was for Hernan or John. Yeah, I think it was for Hernan. And then I shared it to Hernan, and that's where it started. But most of my reviews are still from stereo. So it allows me to get back on this creative side that I have, that's writing, that I lost. I loved writing when I was a kid. I lost touch with that for years, and now I'm back at it with like another flavor, that's the reviews. And when you think about it, 90% of them are about stereo. So yeah, it had a big impact in my life.
It's an incredible story, and I think because I've read a lot of your posts, and when Hernan is encouraging you to go do something,
I was like, I need to do it.
You listen.
Yeah. It's funny. Another side story of that. At first, he wanted me to go into the mixing world.
Really?
And he was like, you should do it. Like, you're so passionate about mixing. Like, I could give you a USB key. So I was like,
interesting. He gives you his whole library?
So I was like, interesting. But then I told him, like, my calling is more like to be on the dance floor and share my emotion through writing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fine. Like, you have people that gives or bring something different on all like aspect of the dance floor. So not everyone has to mix. Like, you have to have everything.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's very insightful and wise, in my opinion, of you, because you know your post, and you know like what you want to bring to the table, how you want to deliver it, and it's what you're passionate about, and it's something that you're good at. I've read your blogs and your writing, and for me, it's really inspiring. You really inspire me, one, with how insightful your posts are on a like knowledge level of the music.
Thank you.
But I would say even more so on your vulnerability and the stories that you share in relation to music, in relation to your experiences at Stereo. They are, one, very vulnerable, so I want to honor you for your vulnerability in those posts, because they've really impacted me. They impact my sibling. I shared with them. I share your posts with my friends, and they inspire me to share more through my work and through my podcasting and my interviewing and just what the content that I'm putting out. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. It means a lot, and it's really recent that I've started opening up like about more vulnerable thing. And I just see how much good it does for me first, but it does so much good for the community too. Like when I said community is like very tight, now I go out to events and people come and they say, just like you did, like your post like really impacted me. Like I'm really touched, and they also share stories, and I realize like, oh, I'm not the only one like living. Even when I share really, really traumatic things, people relate and they have like stories, and I'm like, okay, so I wasn't the only one like going through all this stuff.
No, you're not. You're definitely not the only one. And I think that's what makes your content so impactful, is because it's human. It's so human. And reading about your sister and your brother, it's like I've dealt with stuff like that in my life, and it's like, oh my God, there's someone else.
Finally, yeah.
Like it's a breath of fresh air. It's a real breath of fresh air. And so thank you for that.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And yeah, I would be lying if I said it doesn't help me. It's a therapeutic effect, and I'm glad through my journey, it's helping some other people like feel more comfortable about sharing their mental health issues too.
100%. And that's like Medtronica, and this whole concept is, how is music impacting mental health? For me, and this morning, I don't know. Some days I just wake up and it fucking sucks, man. Like, I don't know what it is. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with, I just feel sad or shame or guilt, and it just weighs on me, and I don't know what to do.
Sometimes you just have to accept that negative emotion and live the moment. Because I think we're in society where negative emotions and feeling depressed and not 100% is really looked upon.
For sure.
So sometimes you just have to live your day, and yeah, you're having a bad day, but just soak it in instead of repressing it and trying to like forget about it by drinking or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like avoiding it.
Yeah.
And for me, I do the deep breathings, I do the meditations, and I, talk therapy, all these things, exercise, vitamins, like
the whole thing.
I'm like, what can I do?
You're very committed.
Yeah, I'm trying to kick this thing. And I think that's the thing. This is something we all live with, and it's part of being human. And for me, what really helps is electronic music. Like today, I'm feeling a ton of shame, a ton of guilt about a breakup that I went through a year ago, and it just like, I've been good for 3 months, and then all of a sudden today I have a dream, and it's like my whole day is like, my whole morning's like,
you're
fucked.
back at it.
I'm back at it. I'm back in it. I'm feeling terrible about myself. But when I'm not feeling my best, I turn to electronic music. And today I put on, shout out to Tony Humphries, because when I'm feeling bad, I throw on some of his disco house sets, and it helps me pull myself out of a place when I feel like there's no rope or there's no ladder to climb out of. It really helps me start to move in a positive direction.
As we said, stereo is a safe space. Well, the music for you is your safe space at home. And so when you play the record, you just feel like back in your safe space, and slowly the anxiety will go out of your system.
While I deep breathe.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how has electronic music impacted your mental health, or does it impact your mental health, and how has it helped you with any of those areas?
So yeah, mental health, it's a big topic for me. So it was something I wanted to share today, like because I've been sharing things you said on my blog, so it's nothing new. But I wanted to share it because I think it could help people. And once again, every time I voice it and write it, it helps. It becomes less and less painful, I think. So I want to share that first, and then I'll let you know how electronic music impacted this.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess my biggest struggle in mental health in my life was that I was keeping all my negative emotion. We were just saying that. All my negative emotion, and a lot of people in my circle will know that I was like someone that was very like introvert and keeping all the negative inside. I would never talk about my feelings. That was like in my 20s. So every time people would say like, "Are you good?" Like, "Yes, yes," I would smile.
Yeah, you just kind of push it off.
Yeah, because I think I was ingrained in my brain that sharing negative emotions was bothering people.
Yeah.
That was my mindset. So that was my biggest struggle, and throughout the years, it made me like do like irrational things and maybe like drank too much alcohol, consuming. So that was like part of my 20s. And it's just recently that I understood what really caused all that. And I wanted to share it today because it's just amazing what just understanding the impact that some trauma has had in your life when you understand it and take care of it, how it completely changed your mindset and your alcohol intake, everything. So first thing that happened, well, when I was born, I'm from Algeria, so we were born in Algeria. And my father at that time kidnapped me and my brother and sister. They were already older. So they took us from Algeria, and he was from Syria. So he took us to Syria, where he had his own family. And obviously that's, I say that it's things that I've heard from my sister and my mother.
You were a baby.
Exactly. I was 0. I was literally, I think, 5 days old. So he took me and brother and sister and took us away from my mother for about 2 years. And from what I heard from my sister, he was a very like abusive father. Obviously not towards me because I was too little, but he was very abusive mentally towards my sister, and very, very abusive physically towards my brother. They were 7 or 8 years old, so they were already old enough to understand. So that went through for about 2 years. So I don't have a lot of information about this period, obviously, because I don't have any recollection, and it's still like a subject that's traumatic, I would say,
of course.
talk to with my sister. So my sister, she told me like you wouldn't like take care of me, so she was the one that was basically doing the mother and father. So she was taking out, changing my diapers, feeding me, doing the whole thing for 2 years. And what made it stop is that he was Syrian, but he was also Palestinian, half Palestinian. So after 2 years, he decided he wanted to move to Canada. And it was quite easy because when you're Palestinian, they don't have a nation. So the visa application is way easier to go to another country. But the only thing is he was still married to my mom. So they needed the whole family in the picture to be able to deliver the visa. So we basically asked my mom if she wanted to move to Canada, like together as a family.
Were they not talking before this?
Not really. I think she went to visit us a few times, but it was still like, it wasn't, we were taken without her consent, so it wasn't a good relationship.
I can't imagine it was.
But my mother, she's a smart woman. She knew that Canada was a country like that had, compared to Syria and Algeria, where the rights are much more for the father, she knew that Canada was leaning more for women and that she could have a case there. So she accepted. And when she arrived in Syria, my uncle, which is my father's brother, told my mother that he was planning to come to Canada and get the papers and then kidnap us again to Egypt. So that was his plans, but she knew that in advance. So as soon as she arrived to Canada, she like contacted some refuge for beating women and like to help. So they set up everything and they came like at night, like in the movies, at night, like with a car. So she took our passports, she took us, and she left with, and I really admire her. And when I think of that, it takes such courage because she had like a car, she had a house, she had a career in Algeria, and now she's in a refuge like in Canada with her kids. So we stayed in those like refuge for another year or two, I believe. So it's only like, I think when I was 4 that we settled down in an apartment, and she got the legal custody. So everything was settled for her. But yeah, when you think of that, from 0 to 4 was very, very unstable.
No stability.
Yeah. And at first I thought it didn't impact me because I didn't have any recollection. But then I think I was very wrong, because now I started talking to doctors and psychologists and everything. And they say, on the contrary, like those 4 years are where attachment, like all the subconscious things happen. And yeah, this period was very, very traumatic for me. And I could see, as soon as we arrived in Canada, my brother were now 10, maybe 10, 11 years old. They were very problematic, like getting into fights and troubles. And me, I was young, so I didn't understand why they were doing that. And I was easy to judge them. Like I was like, why are you doing that? Why are you like getting into trouble? They were getting into fights, like stealing, getting arrested by cops, getting slowly into substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, dropping out of school, getting into fights with my mom. So it was very, very hectic with them, and dynamic with my mom. And yeah, I wasn't understanding what was happening. And I remember still to this day, I was judging a lot their behavior, because I thought they were just being brats. Or
For
like,
sure, and they're like making everyone's life harder
Exactly.
in the moment, but ultimately they're dealing with the trauma in the way that they knew how.
Yeah, and now that we have perspective, my mom is saying, oh, we should really have seen like psychologists and the whole thing. But at the time, it wasn't something that was offered. It wasn't something, mental health was very taboo in the 90s. So she said no one like even considered like sending you guys to see someone. So we didn't see anyone in the medical field when I was growing up. And yeah, slowly I was seeing them getting worse and worse. So my brother, he was still at home until 30 years old. And it's when he moved away on his own apartment that it really went downhill for him. So I started like losing a little bit touch with him, because he was like too much for me. Like when I would see him, he would steal money, he would like do things that are really like irrational. I would see like his behavior. I wasn't like connecting with him. But again, when I was like asking him, are you good? He was telling me yes, yes. So I couldn't like know what he was going through.
He wasn't sharing like
No,
anything with you.
exactly. And it's only recently that my sister told me that he made her promise to never, never tell what happened, that he was beaten by my father. My mom basically never knew until recently, because he was so ashamed. So it just makes sense that he was so like closet and traumatized.
Of course.
It's only 2 years ago that I learned the extent of everything when another tragic event happened. So I got a call from my mom, and I just knew something was wrong, because it felt, in her voice, it felt wrong. So I went to her place, and I see on the table some SPVM, which is the cup here from Montreal. So I knew something had happened. And I see my sister crying and everything. So she announced me that my brother was stabbed and that he died that same morning. So that was 2 years ago. And it was like, for me, I remember it was very confusing, because I barely spoke to him in the last 2 years. Like we left off in a very like weird space. He was disconnected from all his family because he stole from my mom too. So everyone had cut a little bit the contact. But then they arrested the guy, and through the trial we discovered like a lot of details. And we discovered that he was almost like homeless at the time. He was he was consuming crack. Like he was in a very, very dark place. All his like connections were very shady. So it wasn't a good spot to be with. And yeah, I felt very sad for him, because that was the last moments of his life, and his whole life was suffering. I never saw him happy, to be honest. So, and it's only at that time that we started like digging into our childhood. And also a year before, my father, we got the news that he passed away from COVID. So that was around the same time. And those two events were when we unleashed everything, the stories. My mom started to be more vocal about what happened. And it's
after your dad passed?
Yeah.
Got it.
yeah, I think when my dad passed, it was like a weight that she didn't, I don't know, maybe she didn't feel comfortable talking about him
Yeah, I imagine
while he
like
was still alive.
yeah, like you're just in fear for your safety.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Or just, yeah, you have to understand it was traumatic for her
Of
too.
course,
And
of
she didn't
course.
get help too, so I can't say anything. So it's just at that moment after he was dead that I understood, like, okay, it makes sense. Like he was like that because of all the story. I was just learning about all that happened in my childhood after he was dead. So I understood why he was being like that, why he was suffering all his life. He had suicidal thoughts at some moments. So for him, I knew it was a hard life, and I took a pledge on doing everything I could to feel better, just to honor his memory, to do all that I can to treat myself or to get help and to understand what's going in my head and to break that cycle of trauma. So that's the story of my brother. And on the other side, my sister that I shared recently. On her side, it was more the alcohol. And it's funny because we see we see on the trauma on us three, we see the level that it impacted us. As my brother was the one that was physically abused.
Yep.
For me, it was like the most severe. My sister was more emotionally, but she still had like a lot of issues. Alcohol was a big factor in her life, and yeah, recently, like 2 years ago, that's when even her health started shutting down. So she was hospitalized first 2 years ago for her liver, and they told her not to drink again, but she managed to do so for a few months, but then went back at it. And recently, when I shared in June, she was hospitalized for her stomach that had like internal bleeding. So the doctors really were cash with us. They told us she will probably die, but we're gonna try to help to do something. So it was really something because we were just getting out of the grief of my brother, which was 2 years later, and we were like almost losing my sister. So I was like flipping. Luckily, she made it, and now she's out. And yeah, this had a profound effect to me, and I decided when that happened, I just felt so like disgusted with alcohol that I decided to completely cut it out of my life. And for a lot of people, they knew me like growing up, I was a big drinker. So to say that is very, very profound for me. Yeah. So to come back to electronic music, so that's the background.
Well, hang on. I wanna pause before
Yeah.
we go there and just take a moment and say thank you for sharing. It's a really powerful story.
Thank you. It's the first time I say it vocally. I say it as detailed.
Thank you. I just want to take a minute and say I really, really resonate with your brother. And I just want to take a moment for him.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. Even as a baby, I think of my niece, and she's 6, and thank God she has my mom and dad to help raise her. But her mom was like very, very volatile. So I really, that's close to me in your story. And my dad wasn't the kindest dad with me, and I'm the oldest, so I can resonate with your brother to an extent. And I just want to commemorate him and take a moment. So
Thank you. I know he's looking upon us, and yeah, every day is in my art. As I said, I took a pledge that day to really do everything, and why I'm sharing today, because I want to help other people through that story. And help myself too, because every time, as I said, like the first time I said that story, I would shake like a leaf. So
For sure.
you see, now I can say it. It's still hard. Like I still feel something, but it's not as hard as the first time. So every time you say it, you debunk that trauma, and it's the only way. Sharing it with your community and your safe space is the only way to do it.
I agree. And I just want to say it's really brave of you to share. And you've obviously, I want to commend you for you've obviously done the work and doing the work, and you're putting in the reps, and you're able to speak on this in like very calm and even keel. And that's really impressive. Obviously when I hear the story, and it really impacts me, and I've got my own relation to your brother through experiences with my dad. I'm still dealing with that myself, obviously.
Well, I'm very touched by your reaction.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was homeless in New York City growing up. His mom passed away at 15. He found her dead.
Wow.
In the apartment in Brooklyn. And, you know, when you're that young, like, that impacts you. And it impacts you throughout the rest of your life. And when his dad abandoned him, he left him and his sister in Brooklyn destitute. So like he was homeless in Brooklyn and New York City for like most of his life. And then miraculously by the grace of God, like was able to pull his stuff together. But when you grow up without a father and you don't know how to raise kids, like you're going to make mistakes and you're going to not be the best version of you. And you may like hit your kids sometimes. And that really impacts children, and it can shape and impact the rest of their lives moving forward. And so it's something that we need to share. I personally feel like we need to share and talk about like how hitting kids can impact the rest of their lives, or like beating them or having these traumatic experiences really can. So that's something I wanted to share, and that's like my give back to the whole reason I'm doing this, is to try and move the ball forward, to showcase how the things we do as parents, and I'm not a parent, but I'm an uncle, can really impact our future generations and our kids. But to bring this all back to electronic music, I want to hear how electronic music has impacted.
Yeah, so that was the background story, and so I wanted to share because it makes you understand why. So yeah, growing up, when I discovered electronic music, it's a funny period because in 2013 was when I discovered stereo and electronic music. But there's another part of me that I was struggling with, and it's my homosexuality. And that's another big part of mental health that I've been struggling with. So in this side, electronic music really helped me a lot. Because I grew up in a very conservative, homophobic household. So I personally knew I was gay since I was 8 years old. And I was growing up in a family that, for example, there was Pride on TV. I would hear like insults and like things like you don't want to hear. So that really resonated in my head. And
it's not safe to be gay at home.
Exactly, at home. At school, I was hanging out with friends that were very homophobic because that was the vibe. I guess that it's funny because when we think right now, it's more like safe for younger kids. But just when I was growing up, like in the 90s and 2000, it wasn't a thing. So it was very cool to be homophobic at the school. I remember there was one kid that was out, and he would get picked on every time. So I always say that I did my first coming out when I was 17 years old. That was my technical coming out, saying it to one person. But I didn't feel comfortable with myself for another 10 years. And it's really electronic music that helped me like slowly get in touch with that side. Because when I went to those events, like stereo or any other events, a picnic, it was a safe space. So it was like a place where like I could be more vocal about my feelings slowly and just meet people that are tolerant and not homophobic. Stereo, when you think of it, is a gay club at its core. So you have a whole section that is gay, Well, they say. Maybe I'm telling you that and you didn't know.
Oh, no, I found them last time. Looking at the DJ booth, front right.
The right side is more known to be prone.
Yeah, I went over there. I was like, man, I need to sit down and rest. And I just like posted up on the speaker.
Yeah.
And I was like, everyone over here's got their shirt off and everyone's a dude. I was like, oh, I'm in the gay section. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was saying in 2013, it was a funny period for me because it was when I discovered this community, but it's also when at home my sister came back. I was 23 at that time. She was very drunk that night, and I wasn't out with my family. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ready to be out because I was still living home. I think she saw on social media something I posted that was very explicit. So she decided to like out me to all my brother, mother, everyone. So I remember that. I still remember that very clearly. And I wanted to like disappear, like to completely disappear from the face of Earth. I remember. And I remember in the next year, I moved out of my place because I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't speak to my sister for years after that. And my mother, it was like awkward. And electronic music really saved me at that point, just to like ground me and this community. And in 2018, I went to Burning Man. So you probably know it. And
I've heard of it.
It's happening right now.
Yeah, they got rained on.
Yeah, apparently. I'm excited to talk to my friend that went.
Nice.
But Burning Man was the first time. There's a lot of electronic music. Mm-hmm. It's the first time I knew like it was like, not you had to, but it was very encouraged to be colorful, to wear like whatever you want. And me, I was still like in that mindset that, oh, techno, you need to be like wearing black. Mm-hmm. So Burning Man was the first like time I really went out and like bought leggings, like glitters. I bought kimonos, everything. So for 2 years I went in 2018 and 2019. I made myself a whole like closet, like with fur coats. And when I came back, I really like loved that new like identity that I had in Burning Man. So I started like wearing more colorful things, even in like outdoor events and music events. And it was only in music events. I didn't feel comfortable like wearing something like this on the streets or at home. But in music events with electronic music, I felt comfortable. Like you said, it was a safe space. So slowly I would like get a little bit more crazy with the colors and just feel more comfortable about it. Like wear more colors, add the earrings. So
bring on some more accessories.
Exactly.
Cool.
So every time I was doing that, slowly I was feeling like better with that colorful, let's say a gay side that I was repressing all my life. So slowly I was starting to feel better. And I won't hide that during that time, I was kind of feeling depressed too. Like there was a lot happening in my life. I was consuming more. So around that time, I made a lot of changes too. Like I looked in the mirror and I made a lot of changes. And that's when I started also seeing professionals. Mm-hmm. But electronic music was always the most important thing, I would say, in terms of community. The friends that I have for years. Like you say, like a night like tonight, I know that after tonight I will feel like so satisfied and like just blissful, happy. And I guess just feeling more comfortable with myself and opening up with all my friends, and it made all the difference for me.
I really resonate with that and feel, to your point, that after nights like tonight and going to electronic music shows, festivals, there are moments in time where we get to let our hair down. I don't have hair, but metaphorically, let our hair down, let our guard down, disconnect, and really you get to be yourself.
Exactly.
You get to just let it all out, be yourself, and it's accepted and it's safe. And I think when we repress sides of ourselves and we don't let our full expression come through of who we are, it builds up, it eats at us away. And having places that we can go express ourselves and let just be yourself is so important.
It's like, you're right. It's like
therapy.
For me, it's like a confirmation that, I don't know, a confirmation that whenever I wear my outfits and someone like has a smile and like comes to me and like just make a comment, a positive comment, for me, it's like just like some happiness that I build, and oh, okay, like I feel good about that. And obviously you don't need the other world's confirmation, but it just feels nice to feel welcome and that whatever you're doing is accepted and you're in a safe space.
I agree, and I see it that when someone says, wow, I love your outfit, it's like you're on the right path.
Exactly.
Thank you for being the best version of you. Thank you for doing that, because it helps other people be themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I guess electronic music, to add and finish, the most important part, the music itself is the core that glues us. But for me, I said it more than one time, it's the community. So this is the real medication and the therapeutic effect. So what really made the difference for me is sharing. So I started sharing those stories. It's crazy because my first post was during my trip in South America. I was by myself. I don't know what I felt, but I was by myself. Like, I think I was in Patagonia in the mountains.
Sick.
So I didn't have any, and it was the 2 years anniversary of my brother. So I was like feeling a lot of emotion, but I was like by myself, like in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't have all my support system, and I just felt so like ready, and I posted, and that was in January, so it's not even a year, but so much progress have been done. And I tell you, like, I wanted to really put the emphasis on that. As soon as I shared this story, it's like it's like when you do your coming out, it's like a big layer of anxiety and some things that when I was growing up, I didn't feel unhappy, but I felt something boiling inside me, like something wasn't right, but I couldn't pin it. And as soon as I shared the story and shared more, now I don't have the need to like consume alcohol as much, to party irrationally. Like, I do things more smartly. I bike those crazy. I'm still intense in biking, but I channel my craziness in more healthy channels. Yeah.
I can see that you're channeling it in other areas, and it seems like it was freeing. Like, it released something. It freed you from something. It freed you from that attachment to what was like boiling inside you.
Yeah, biking was a big release for me. I think I would say it saved my life, but it really put me in the better path, because I think I'll always be intense, but I needed something to channel it. And just also for the self-confidence, like, I was known to be the big drinker and to be the big partier, and now I'm trying to switch it to, I have a good time, but I'm also a big biker, and I can have another identity to myself. And when I bike, it feels like a 6 hour or 5 hours meditation. Like, you're just by yourself, no music. I don't put music, just the nature. So I just go through my thoughts, and funny, like 2 weeks ago, I had a very stressful day at work. The old me would have probably opened a bottle of alcohol and drank a bottle of wine. But the other day, I just grabbed my bike, did 2 hours of biking, and after I was like, ooh, I feel good. Like, all the stress was out, and it really like calmed me down.
I'm so glad that you found a healthier outlet, and you know yourself better, and you found a channel to put that energy into something that's going to positively impact you. So that shows a real sign of maturity. And
Thank you.
Athletics is a huge part in my life, and I think many people's lives, and mainly it's a huge part in my mental health wellness routine. So I know it's
very important.
It's super important too. You're putting on like 200 kilometers at a time. It's intense. Yeah. I watch you, I'm like, damn, he's getting after it. I love it. I love it.
I always joke, I'm very intense. Like I can do a 24-hour marathon at stereo or like 200 kilometer on my bike.
Right after it.
Maybe not right after, but I just like those intense rides.
And that's and you know yourself, and you're finding, and you found the healthy outlets for it.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And I want to say on the closing remarks, thank you so much for sharing. It has been an absolute honor to speak with you, to hear your story, and thank you for sharing your story. It's super important. It's I hold it close to my heart, and I'm sure a lot of other people really appreciate and will appreciate this. So thank you very much, Fadi.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll see you on the dance floor tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait for it tonight.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Thank you, Ryan.
You got it, man. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah. I think I deserve that.
Thanks, man.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Oh man,
That was amazing, guys.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
oh man.
Wow.
We did it in one take.
Even with the tears.
I was jumping so many times, like just give you guys a hug. I was like, holy shit.
Wow. That's intense.
Wow. All right. I don't think I'm gonna make it.